Here we go. All right. Well, hopefully this will help your emotional eating, whether it's emotional eating or just overeating or mindless eating. This presentation is sort of geared toward uh, mindless, thoughtless eating, and certainly it kind of revolves into that stress eating because stress eating is a real thing. I used to say years ago that stress eating wasn't real, that stress eating was something that was um, uh, something that we learned, that it was not something that we had to do. And, I still kind of stick with that theory because it definitely is not something that we have to do. But the fact that it's learned is more, I'm going to change my words on that. It's not learned, but it is a repetitive cycle, and it is a habit. And with that being said, you could break the habit. And I was just telling a brand new member that just joined who had a very stressful day, and she thanked me for doing this webinar because she literally just joined last week, and she said that she ate her emotions. And we find comfort in food, and it's comforting to us, but the bottom line is when it's done and we have stressed uh, uh, eaten our stress away, we've made matters worse, and we know that, but we do it time and time and time again. And it's a matter of learning how to break the cycle. And I think back to my earlier days where I would stress eat, and to the point where when a stressful situation would pop up in my life, I would instantly go right to, I am going to eat. And it was like, the plan was being made. And a lot of people do that. I've had people text me telling me, my grandma fell, she got run over by a reindeer, and I am going to hit up Taco Bell. It's literally what we think to do. It's our trigger. And so we have to undo that, and it can be easily undone as far as the strategy, but as far as doing it, that part is not so easy. But once you go through the motion of it and you teach yourself how easy it is to do it, and after you see this presentation, I just recorded a podcast that kind of coincides with this presentation as well. And I left the recording studio, and my producer, who really knows not much about nutrition, was laughing because he's like, this is so true. Everything you say is so true, but we still keep doing it. And I asked him, as somebody that is not a nutrition person, he's not on a diet, he eats whatever he wants, he's an older retired gentleman. I said, could you see putting this into play? He said, absolutely. But your mind has to be there, just like anything else. So what I'm going to talk about today is how can you avoid that emotional eating? How can you avoid the mindless eating? How can you avoid falling into the same pattern over and over and over again? And I am going to ask for audience participation. So if you absolutely do not want to participate, I completely respect that. But if you are somebody that doesn't mind being asked to do a little role playing, I would love for you to raise your hand when it comes time to that. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna try something a little different today with the presentation. Instead of doing slideshow, I'm going to kind of change my background instead. So staying healthy in mind and body is especially the current state of the world. Everybody is talking about mind, body. You know, we all know this. And even in my last session in the January session, when we did the 22-day, I tried to really implement that, you know, manifest that positivity. And a lot of people might look at that as hogwash, but if you take a minute and you ground yourself and take a minute and think about your thinking. The word for thinking about your thinking is metacognition. I know there's some teachers here in that have joined us. Actually, there's a lot of teachers here that have joined us, and we teach our kids to think about our thinking. When we don't think about our thinking, we lose control. You think about your thinking all the time. When there's a consequence that has to be paid and it's severe, you think about your thinking. But when it doesn't have a concrete very reprimandable consequence, we don't think about it. So I'm going to put this into perspective. You all have probably participated in mindless eating. We all have participated in that stress eating, emotional eating. We all know that when we do that, it makes matters worse, but we do it anyways, because in that moment, we don't care. In that moment, we know that it feels good at that time. And even though we know that later we're going to hate what we did, we are going to despise how we feel, we are going to feel humiliated, we don't care, right? But in other aspects of our world, we're able to stop ourselves because the consequences are greater. So I'm gonna put a very simple analogy into spin here. When you're driving and you are rushed, what is the knee-jerk reaction of what we all do? And you guys could speak up. I think I might have you muted. Yeah, I do have you muted. So just unmute. What do we do when you're in this mad rush? What's your natural reflex? What do you do when you're driving? Anybody?
You speed.
Yes, you speed. And while you're speeding, what thoughts are going through your mind?
Hope I don't get caught by a cop and get a ticket.
Exactly. But you do it anyways because you're in a rush. But your inner thoughts are, I better not get caught. Just like when you are eating, stress eat, your inner thoughts are, this is so stupid. Why am I doing this? But you do it anyways. Okay, so the difference though is when you're speeding, what is the consequence of getting caught?
A ticket.
Exactly. And that is concrete. That is real. You are paying $150. You are getting pulled over. Now you're really late to wherever you're going, right? Now your insurance is going up. Your spouse is going to yell at you, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on. So that prevents you from speeding, or at least it tames you. It keeps you from going, more than 8 over. That's your limit, right? Because you know what that consequence is. And I'm sure you've all done it before where you've pushed the envelope and you've gone way over, you've gotten pulled over, it's taken up too much of your time, you've had to go to court, you've had to pay the ticket, blah, 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 blah. Okay. It hurts, right? It's concrete. So with eating, with stress eating, you have to put yourself into that same state of mind. That it's the same thing. The punishment is still there. It's just as solid, but quite frankly, even worse, because you are not letting yourself off the hook, and you are going to keep repeating it over and over and over. So when you're in that situation and you're doing your stress eating, and you say to yourself, "It doesn't matter. Keep going. You're going to hate yourself tomorrow." You also have to stop and say to yourself, but if you don't stop, this is never going to end. You have to look at the deeper consequences. not just you're going to hate yourself tomorrow. Look at, you're going to be doing this forever. Don't you want this to end? So do you see how you're kind of like digging deeper at that moment? Now I know at that moment it's hard because that state of mind that you're in is a bit far-fetched. So I'm going to go back now and kind of address how to get there. Okay. So what is self-awareness? Self-awareness is, quite frankly, what we actually and actively choose to pay attention to. Our physical and mental, emotional state of well-being. That is what we are aware of. So when you are stress eating, and this is where I would love to hear some participation. What thoughts are going through your head? Now, I just rambled up a bunch, and those are probably my thoughts, but what are some of your thoughts that you are thinking when you are stress eating, when you're mindlessly munching, when you have had a stressful day and you turn to food, when you've had a stressful day and you're planning on turning to food? What is your mental state? What's going through your mind? Anybody?
It's a comfort zone, knowing that it's like a comfort food.
Okay, so you are saying to yourself, I need to be comforted, so I need to have this food, so it's going to make me feel better.
And for me, when I get stressed or in a bad mood, I just go for like the Reese's peanut butter cup or a Reese's peanut butter stick and be like, oh, a few bites won't hurt me. And then,
Okay.
like you said, you're like, oh shit, why did I just do that to myself? I just totally sabotaged myself, but I'll still put it in MyFitnessPal as like, okay, here's your ticket. Now you got to pay the piper.
Okay, so
But
before, like, as you're eating it, your justification, your mental state of mind is that you need this, and it's just a little bit and it's going to be fine.
right, a few bites won't hurt.
Okay, that's a good justification. Someone else?
Like anxious or worried as well.
Okay, about what?
Just like you're nervous about something, and so you just like eat like in a frenzy. You know what I mean? It's like, how fast can I eat this bag of chips? Nobody will notice. Yeah.
Perfect. So I love that. Who said that?
Jessica.
So you're not thinking. You're only looking at those chips, and you're only focusing on how good they taste, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? And
yeah, and if I eat that candy bar really fast, whatever it is, if it goes so fast, nobody's gonna know, and then the problem will go by really fast. Like it will somehow put a Band-Aid on it.
Thank you. So while you are eating those chips, you're scoffing down the chips, and you're thinking about what's next on the palate. Are you thinking about your problem?
No, I'm not. I probably not. I think it's like you almost, for me, I turn into like a crazy mode. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right. And so exactly, your problem went away. It went away because you're focusing on on those chips. Nadine, when you're eating your Reese's and you're thinking about it's just a little, it's not gonna, are you worried about your problem when you're eating your Reese's?
Absolutely not. It's like my little comfort zone. I'm sitting on the beach eating my crap and we're good.
Yeah. Anyone else? %90 of people who stress eat, while they are going through the action of making the decision to pull the trigger on what they're going to eat, how they're going to eat it, what they're going to eat next, that what they're doing that's bad, how they suck, how they're never going to get better, blah, blah, blah. During that portion of time, during that glimpse of time, their problem has gone away. It's gone. So that moment of time is magical, because now you have just made your problem go away. You have anesthetized yourself with food. And it's fabulous, because who wouldn't want to do that, right? You're replacing your stress with candy. You're replacing your stress with chips. You're replacing your stress with all sorts of things, right? And as you're doing it, whatever justification you're saying to yourself, whether it's fine, you worked out, you'll start tomorrow, or you suck, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Your problem went away. It's gone. And so that right there is this is a magical moment, because you have to be aware of that. That is what you're doing. You are trying to numb the issue, and the issue is still there. and you know this, but what was so helpful to me as a former stress eater, and truly in acknowledging this research, is being aware of this. So when you are stress eating, when you decide you're going to stress eat, being aware of that physical and mental and emotional state of mind, and realizing that, you know what, I'm numbing the pain, I'm numbing the stress. It's just this small moment of time that I'm taking it away, and it's not going to go away. But we don't think that way. You know what I mean? We just want it to just numb the pain for a little bit. It doesn't go away. So you have to say that to yourself. You have to say it to yourself. You have to say, this is not addressing my problem. So you're snapping yourself out of that. Jessica, did you say it was like a trance or a like robotic almost state of mind? Because now you are telling yourself, this is not going to make my problem go away. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. And so now this is going to bring me to my next thing. My next thing is, why do we need self-awareness? Well, we need self-awareness for so many things. We need self-awareness to make every bit of ourselves better. But in the sense of stress eating, being aware of what's happening is going to, one, address the issue, two, hopefully stop us from repeatedly doing this. Okay, so our well-being is important no matter the circumstances or the state of the world. Self-awareness helps bring us to a state of being in which we're able to evaluate our actions and our emotions. So let's take me back to my pantry. I should have actually did the Zoom in my pantry because I've gotten myself into trouble in my pantry. And I have actual visualizations of myself in there where I will stop myself and I will say, is this going to make the shitty day that I just had better? Stop. How is this going to make my shitty day better? And that right there is self-awareness. It brings me back. It literally brings me back. And there are times where I will even say it out loud. It is that self-awareness. It evaluates the state of mind that I'm in and the emotions. So we've all had bad days, right? If a bad day is bad, it's water under the bridge. Why make it worse by eating something, right? Now, if you're stressed about some ongoing issue, finances, your job, your marriage, illnesses, that problem is still there. That problem's not going to go away. And self-soothing with food is going to numb it, but the problem is still going to be there. So you have to bring yourself back into that state of mind and realize that this is not going to make it better. Okay. So going on to this, negative emotions that lead to eating. So typically what we do, we're bored. Most people eat when they're bored. Now, that's not stress. That's just boredom. You're filling time because there's nothing to do. So you wander over, you start eating. Now, the thing with boredom eating is this. The second you put one thing in your mouth, and please remember this, the second you put one thing in your mouth, your saliva starts flowing, right? Because that's what happens. Our mouths have to get ready for the food, drips into our stomachs start secreting enzymes, ready for food, food's coming, even if it's just one pretzel. Your stomach is thinking there's food coming. It is sending messages to your brain saying, this girl's gonna eat. And it is sending messages saying, feed me. So you're in trouble because now you just started this avalanche of messages in your brain. And that's why you can't stop at one pretzel. So before you take that one pretzel, before you say to yourself, it's only one, you need to realize that you're going to start this avalanche and you need to be aware of it and step away from it. Another huge reason that we stress eat is fear. We are afraid of whatever, whether it's an illness, whether it's a death, whether it's a lost job. And when we're afraid, the food distracts us. And this goes back to exactly Jessica's point. We're distracting ourselves from the real problem. But that problem is not going to go away. So you have to get in front of that and realize that. And then loneliness. This kind of goes up with the boredom. Food acts like a friend. If you think about it, more times than not, when you are eating, you're eating with somebody else. So if you're bored, if you're by yourself, eating is a social event. So normally you are doing it with someone else. So now you're eating and you're alone, but it becomes familiar. And now it's a positive thing. Now you're not lonely anymore. So if you are feeling that loneliness, if you are feeling bored, my suggestion is be aware of that. Pick up the phone, call a friend. You have to figure out what is the reason that you are going for the food. And then obviously the reward. Food tastes good. And if you are hungry, then we have to address that. And I'm going to get to that a little bit later. Okay. All right. So you want to manage your environment, obviously. So managing your environment, you want to remove the triggers. If you know that pretzels are going to be a problem, you don't want to have those in your cupboards. If you know that potato chips, if you know that Hershey Kisses are going to be a problem, you don't want to have those in your cupboards either. But here's the thing. When we go grocery shopping, when we prep, we always throw these things in our cart. Now, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't have these things because you're allowed to have these things. However, if you know that these things are going to be your trigger, then you should avoid having them, because going to them when you're upset, you're only going to create this engine where you're going to keep going to them. So my suggestion is to remove the triggers until you feel a lot stronger with yourself and knowing that you're not going to keep going to those triggers. The positive talk is huge, because if you are able to talk to yourself, if you are able to come down on yourself and tell yourself that this is going to be a bigger setback, it's going to prevent you from doing it over and over and over again. So before I continue on, could someone tell me if you can identify, do any of you know what one of your triggers is when you are feeling stressed? What triggers you as far as a food?
What do you mean by triggers? Like, like it's like a crunchy feeling, like I
Yes,
want a
yes.
crunch
Is
kind of a
it
thing.
crunch? Is it sweet? Is it?
It's the crunching of the Hershey, of the Rice Krispie, not Rice Krispie, the peanut butter crunch sticks or whatever they're called, Reese's sticks.
Okay.
It's
So-
sweet, it's crunchy, it's kind of like
Mhm.
all in one.
Okay, so yours are always sweet.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else?
Same here. Mine are always sweet.
Always sweet?
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mine's salty, crunchy.
Okay, salty, crunchy. Now, do you think that you guys could have a sweet and a salty, crunchy that is not gonna sabotage your efforts? Where you can still have it, but not have an overabundance of it. Back to my driving example, go 8 miles an hour over, but don't go 20 miles an hour over. Do you see the difference? So that when you're feeling stress, Nadine, you could say to yourself, I am gonna make those pro nuts and I'm gonna eat 3 of them, you know, because those are sweet and they're satisfying, and 3 of them's only, you know, under 300 calories. And if you like crunch, is it possible for you to, you know, take some corn tortillas and saute them and put some anything but bagel spice on there to get your salt, and you're going to eat 200 calories of those, right? You know, you're still satisfying, but you're not sabotaging. Do you see the difference? You're going 8 miles an hour over because that is not going to mess you up. And there's the difference. And you will start to really find the balance there. I go 8 miles an hour over all the time. Okay, so yesterday I actually was going 90. I know. And it was like out of nowhere. And I thought of this, I thought of this presentation, and I was driving to the dentist, always gets me in trouble. I was going down the highway, speed limit was 65. I looked down, I was going 90. And I realized, just like this, how quick and easy that can happen. But I saw it, I identified it, I realized what the punishment was going to be, and I pulled it back in, dropped my speed right away. I didn't want to get pulled over. So same thing goes with this. You make your healthier option that's going to soothe you, that's going to appeal to you, so that you know you have like a go-to to hit up when you're feeling that stress. But you don't go over 8 miles an hour. You stop at that because that's your limit, because the punishment is far worse than the pain. Okay. So managing your environment is huge, definitely. So let's hear from you guys. What are some things that you could do to manage your environment? Because truly yanking everything out and saying, you just can't eat it all when you're stressed is not realistic. So if you like sweet, if you like crunch, what are some alternatives to that?
I've actually noticed for myself when I just happen to go to the grocery store and I'm actually made a list and prepare, I found the Kind cereal that's high in protein, and it's got chocolate and the crunch and the nuts that I will measure it out, and I'll have that in my bag or in my car as like an emergency stash versus crap in my car where I'm stressed and frustrated, have a couple of handfuls of that, knowing it's measured out, good to go, versus a candy bar.
Correct. Now let me ask you this. Do you think if you're stressed, had a bad day, and you're only focusing on stress eating, do you suppose that if you just made yourself this giant Greek yogurt parfait and put extra berries on it, and maybe instead of putting, you know, rice checks on there like the recipe says, you put you know, the Kashi cereal on there instead because it's got extra bling, would that be satisfying? Something you sit down and just...
That could be doable because it's got your aspect of being healthy plus my crunch to it. So it could be, like you said, finding that good balance. Just a matter of finding what would be good for me at that particular moment.
Yep.
But
Yep.
then the guilt afterwards is so bad. It's like, then I don't want to eat. So then I go to the other end of, okay, I just gained all these calories and now I don't want to eat anything.
Right.
So it's like,
but if you sat down and made yourself a healthier choice, and I always go to this Greek yogurt extravaganza because it's filling. And I have done it before where I'll do a cup of Greek yogurt and I'll put way too many frozen berries on there. And I'll put way too much cereal on there. And I'll even put agave on there. I mean, totally not allowed. But you know what? The alternative was 3 sleeves of double stuffed Oreo cookies, right? So I'm making this and I'm eating it. And you're talking a lot of protein. There's no way I'm eating anything after that. And so now I'm enjoying this and I'm not feeling the guilt because I'm actually commending myself at the same time for not nosediving. But that takes a lot of managing your environment. That takes a lot of self-talk and self-awareness, because that's not what we do. We right away go to negative town, self-sabotage. I'm going to beat myself up, and making something like that is just as satisfying, if not more. But then you get that element of satisfaction, not because it was good for you, not because of anything besides the fact that you did not nosedive. And with that, each and every time you are stressed, that could be your go-to. Does that make sense? Now you're starting to make those connections.
So I can do like peak of perfection kind of a thing, which is a half cup of yogurt and the half scoop of vanilla protein or whatever, and 16 grams of Jif that I've been having as like in my bag as an extra thing. Just throw in a handful of cereal and there's my, I don't want to call it a cheat, but at least it's not overindulging where I'm eating the whole candy bar and then. Okay, got it.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Okay, so identify the problem. We have to get down to the root of the problem. First of all, why are you eating? Are you bored? Are you stressed? Are you lonely? That's important, because if you're not stressed and you're just bored, we have to figure this out, because if it's boredom eating, that's different than stress eating. If you're lonely, that's different also. And all of those things have different triggers. And it clearly, whatever your issue is the root of the problem. Secondly, when does this happen? Where are you? Is it all of a sudden? Is it planned? Now, this is very important. And I'm going to ask you guys this. Where are you? When does this happen? Is it sudden or is it planned? Now, I know this changes from time to time, but oftentimes when we stress eat, it just hits us out of nowhere. We could just be trotting along, having the best day of our life. And the next thing we know, it's like we have been zapped by the body snatchers, and we don't care about our goals. We don't care about our anything. We just care about food that we shouldn't be eating. So is it robotic, or are you planning it? Because that matters too. So which is it of the two for you guys, or is it both?
For me personally, I've noticed that like sometimes I can plan my entire day. I'll come home and I will start preparing my dinner. And then like out of nowhere, I just want to like eat everything in sight. And I'll go to my, go ahead.
So is that a boredom? Is that a stress? Is that a lonely?
It's more of a stress thing because I'm just trying to get so many things done at one time that I'm just like overwhelmed. And I don't want to do is go to that comfort zone and crunch something sweet and be done.
Okay, so then my next question is, are you hungry? Because if you're hungry, then that's the problem. So do you see how these three kind of all go together?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a little role play here. So I need a volunteer. Who wants to be the volunteer? Anybody?
I'll step up, Irene. It's Carrie.
Carrie, where are
This
you?
is not my strong suit, but I'll do it.
Okay, I'm so excited. Let me find you. Carrie. I don't see you. Are you under a different name on the,
No, I just don't have a photo up.
I know, but your name would be up here.
I see it.
I don't. Carrie, Kim, Julie, Chris.
It's got my last name too.
Oh, there you are. Okay, I gotcha. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So I'm gonna add you here to the front here. Okay. All righty. So Carrie, scenario. Carrie just got home from work. Carrie worked all day long. She stayed on her diet perfectly all day. She did not have her 3 o'clock snack because that is what time she typically gets home from work. She had a super stressful day, and her world is just coming undone, right? Dogs are barking, phone is ringing, everything is just coming undone. To top it off, she did not go grocery shopping, and there's really nothing to be made for dinner. So she walks in the door and she is starving, right? So Carrie is a stress eater. Carrie, what is your nemesis food when you stress eat?
If I have them in the house, it's M&Ms
Okay, good
because
choice.
it's the sweet and the crunch.
Okay, good choice. So you head over to the M&Ms, and what typically are you thinking in your head?
These are going to be really good.
Okay, okay.
I really need these M&Ms right now.
Okay, and what's your justification?
I'm not sure I even have one.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So you're not even
Well,
thinking.
and for me, part of it is if it's they're convenient. You open the
Okay.
bag, you put your hand in, they're convenient. You don't have to fix anything or prep anything.
Okay, so have you at all thought of, well, I probably shouldn't be eating these. I should get have one of my mini meals instead.
Oh yeah.
But instead you think what?
I think they're here, they're easy. I love them and I'm just going to eat them anyway.
Okay, so
And only like, yeah, it's not going to matter. They're small, right?
yes. So you eat how many?
Oh gosh, don't ask me that question. I can eat them by the handful if I have them around, which is
Okay.
why I don't often have them around.
So let's just say you eat 35 of them.
20. Yeah,
Okay.
whatever.
So you're eating them, and are you satisfied, or do you want to keep eating
The M&Ms or anything.
the M&Ms?
Oh yeah, they're very addictive for me.
Okay. So what's going through your mind right now?
I really shouldn't be eating this many M&Ms, but I can't seem to stop myself.
Okay.
It's instant gratification.
And what do you do next?
Sometimes eat more, sometimes I stop.
Okay. In the event that you stop, what's the next thing that you think of?
I usually feel bad that I ate those M&Ms.
Okay. Share some more thoughts.
I don't know why I did that.
Mhm.
And at some point, they don't even taste good anymore. But I just can't. I don't have the ability to stop myself when they're in front of me.
Okay.
I'm weak.
Okay. What is the likelihood that you will have them again, though?
At a later time.
Like the next day or in the future?
The next day, okay, full disclosure, if they are in my house, I will eat them morning, noon, and night until they're gone.
Okay.
I do have the discipline not to have them in my house for long periods of time, but then I will usually break down at some point and buy another bag.
Okay.
And I'm not talking the little personal size, I'm talking the big size.
The truth comes out. Okay.
Yes,
All right. No,
yes.
that's perfect, because that's what we all do. That's what we
Yeah.
all do. And I could just see you at the cart going, the store going, don't buy them. Don't buy.
Yeah.
I'm buying these suckers, right? Like the big
Sometimes
jumbo.
I succeed and sometimes I fail.
Yep, exactly.
But it
Okay.
is a cycle I can't 100% break for myself. Yeah.
No, it's hard. Okay, so now let's go back. New day. Same scenario, super stressed. I want you now to practice that self-awareness. Okay. Think about that 8-mile-an-hour limit. Be aware of your environment, be aware of all of those things, your physical state, your emotional state, before you touch those M&Ms. Have a conversation with yourself.
I would probably stop and say, I know I shouldn't have these, so what can I have instead that would be a better choice
Okay.
for me?
Okay. And then what else? I mean, be honest. What else would you say?
I would probably just look around and try to find something else in my fridge or pantry that I could have, that would be better. One of my go-tos is I freeze the Get You Fit shake, and it's like ice cream then. Like I'll thaw it out some, and that's sort of like an ice cream treat for me.
Okay.
So that's a good substitute that makes me feel like I'm cheating, but I'm not.
Okay. And if you did that and it was there and it was
Yes.
ready and you had that shake when you consumed it all, do you think you'd still want the M&Ms?
Probably no. No.
So is it safe to say that that moment would pass?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And how would you feel then after?
Oh, so much better about myself. I would be proud of myself that I didn't go to my weakness, that I fought it and I succeeded.
Yep. And so then furthermore, what do you think would happen the next time you were in that situation?
Hopefully, I would do the same thing again.
Mhm. Yep. And you know, it's easier said than done, but
Yes.
the more you practice it, and thank you for your participation, the more you practice it, the better at it that you'll be, because believe me, I've been there many times where I would literally do what you did, but I would be like, that's stupid. You know, you're not going to eat the shake, Irene. You know, like, just totally talk myself out of it. You know, you're not going to eat the shake, Irene. But then I'd stop and go, have the shake. Be strong, have the shake. You just have to
Mhm.
get over that moment, because it's that little transition. It's that little transition. And so you have to develop your own coping strategies. And that kind of brings me to my next point. So I want everybody right now to quickly close your eyes. We're going to do a little activity here. I want you to think of something that you are really proud of, something you are proud of. And it doesn't have to do with food or exercise or diet or get you fit or anything. Think of something that you are proud of. What happens when you're proud? What does your body do when you're proud? Just envision your body motions, body language when you're proud. How does your body's physical state change when you're proud? Now I want you to think of something else. How do you breathe when you are excited about something? You just found out some super exciting news and you are excited. What does your breathing sound like? And what kind of noises do people make when they are excited? Okay, now open your eyes. So this little exercise, as silly as it is putting you into this state of mind physically of getting you excited, getting you proud. Now, this example that Carrie did with the shake, it's not real. It's not real at all. But if she closes her eyes and pictures herself being excited, visualizing herself excited that she had the shake, squealing for joy, woohoo, you know, she did it, right? Kids on the playground screaming happiness. That's going to bring it more real. But we don't do that. We don't do that. When we're having a bad day, this is what we do. Right? like just. So there were studies done at Harvard that show if you do a Superman stance like this is a true study done at Harvard. If you hold a Superman stance, your success rate will increase by 33%. This is a true study. When you are feeling stressed, when you are feeling like you're going to self-sabotage, and this ties in with stress eating. If you put your hands on your hips, pop your chest up, hold your chin up, your testosterone, male or female, goes up by 20%. Your cortisol drops by 22%. And you have a 33% increased likelihood for radical change. So change your physical state, change your mental state. You know you have this. So don't go in on it. I'm having the M&Ms, you suck. Visualize success. Visualize you got this. And I know this is a hard thing, but once you start doing it, and you start tasting it, you're in this power position. Again, what do we hear? What do we see when we're successful? And you guys have all been successful before. I've gotten texts from people that have just been chiming. I'm so excited. I went to my boyfriend's house and he ordered pizza and I didn't eat it. That's the excitement. And you need to visualize that because that's what's going to get you there. That is your ticket. And so the mindset, you want to have a pep talk with yourself. And pep talk ties in with stress eating because stress eating, PEP, we stress eat to mask the pain, to escape, and for punishment. And that's exactly what we do when we stress eat. So when you're stress eating, you are unconsciously numbing yourself from uncomfortable emotions. So when you're doing it, you have to address that. If you're escaping from something, it's only temporary. And when you're done eating, the punishment's far worse. It's worse than that $150 ticket because the $150 ticket you could pay off. The stress eating is this repeated cycle that you are going to keep marching into time and time again because you're soothing yourself with food and now you're creating this habit that's never going to go away. So in a sense, if you pep talk yourself, what are you trying to mask? What are you escaping from? And focus on that filling that void, because the damage is not going to go away. And going back to those strategies that we talked about, finding a better replacement, identifying your trigger, dealing with the issue, and visualizing your punishment. Just like that speeding ticket. And to me, that is such a great analogy because the speeding ticket's real. We feel it. We've all pushed the limit, and we've all backed off. So if you find yourself starting to sneak into it, have that conversation with yourself. Replace it with something else. And that replacement will be your new go-to, because once you break this habit, it'll be the last and furthest thing from your mind. And on final note, problem solve. Your problem's not going to go away. So if it is a work stress, be aware of it, take action, try to fix your problem. Whatever the issue is, say it is something really serious, find the right resources to solve that problem. And identify those triggers because it might not even be as bad as you think. If you're just bored, if you're just lonely, if you are just wandering around mindlessly eating, you're going to be able to identify that and stop it at that point. Okay. Any questions? questions?
I have one thing to add. Oops, can you hear me? So I volunteer with kids, with adolescents and young adults in recovery.
Mhm.
And there's an acronym we use, and it's, you know, a lot of the things we do there are so similar to what you do. But HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Hmm.
When you are in any one of those or multiple situations, they're more likely to have a relapse. And we're most likely to make really poor choices when we have going on.
Hungry,
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Oh, yeah.
And so if we can control any of those things, which a lot of them are in our control, we're more likely to make healthy choices.
That does make sense.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know, I did a study with willpower and boredom, and the study revealed that people that were bored and lonely turned to food, and it became this habit. For example, they did a study on somebody that every day at 3 o'clock had to go to the cafeteria and hit up the vending machines, and it was every day at 3 o'clock. It became like, that's just, there was nobody in the office. It was like her boredom time. But once she identified that that was her boredom time, a simple phone call to another person solved that problem, because she was bored. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It was like bored, hungry. What was the other one? Tired?
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Yeah, angry. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly stress eating.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So thanks for sharing that.
Yep. I'm off to book group. Have a good
Okay,
night.
sounds good. I kind of want to go make a Get You Fit shake and throw some M&Ms in there, but just only like 4. That would be allowed. Mhm.
I can't do just 4.
Yeah, see, that's where you have to learn. 8 miles over.
That- And I have learned that I don't have that ability. So that's why I'm
Okay.
always proud when I don't buy them, because when they're here, I don't have it, but I can stop myself from buying them.
Yep.
And that's where my success will come in, because I buy them a whole lot less than I used to now.
Good. Well, you know what? I'm the same way with Oreos, and I repeatedly buy them. And today I was at Aldi and I looked right at them, and I did not buy them.
Yep.
So it's hard, but and you know, it's interesting too, because I know you know what I'm talking about, all of you. I looked right at them and I had this full blown conversation in my head with the Oreos. You know, I'm like, in 1 second, I was like, you know, who knows what I said, but it was something along, I'm not going to buy you this time because last time I ate way too many of you, but next time maybe I'll buy them. So it's hard. It really is. So, but again, identify your triggers. You know what they are, you know? So anyways, all right, you guys will enjoy the rest of your nights. Okay. Thanks for joining. We'll talk.
Thanks,
to you
Irene.
later. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Lorraine.
See ya.